It's a nice night to die. Hello, my name is Will, and this is Exploding Helicopter, the podcast with audience figures that are definitely flatlining. Steven Seagal made his name with a string of low-budget action classics, and when Under Siege became a box office smash, it catapulted him into a decade-long run as an action superstar. But as soon as Big Steve hit the Hollywood A-list, things took a turn for the worse. He began dabbling in eco-themed action flicks and weaving his spiritual beliefs into his films. Unfortunately, the public weren't buying it, at least not from the ponytailed pugilist himself, and by the turn of the millennium, old Stoneface's big screen career was on life support. Which brings us, with all the grace of a slow-motion aikido throw, to the film we're reviewing on this show. It's the last Steven Seagal film to get a theatrical release. It's 2002's Half Past Dead. To help me review the film, I'm joined by a man who's donned his do-rag specially for this show, and he's promised to put a little thug into everything he says. It's my good friend Nick Rehak. How you doing, buddy?
We're cuckoo crazy, man. We are cuckoo crazy.
In so many ways. But yeah, I mean, you're picking up on the man himself, the man of the subject, I guess, of this particular podcast. And before we get stuck into Half Past Dead, I wanted to get your thoughts on its star, because in many ways, there's more to talk about with Steven Seagal than any of his action peers. And that's really quite remarkable, because frankly, you know, when you compare him to people like Sylvester Stallone or, you know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, in some ways they've made so many better films. But in many ways, there's more to talk about with Steven Seagal, because there have been the good movies, the bad movies, and there have been the truly, truly awful movies. There's the ever-expanding waistline, the increasingly absurd hair, the eccentric fashions. There's been the blues guitar albums, the energy drink, the disturbing bromance with Vladimir Putin. You know, following the career of Seagal has been a journey, if nothing else. How do you make sense of it all? Can you even make sense of it all?
It's tough. It's an enigma. He is, in a weird way, like a Nick Cage type figure, in that you don't know what he's going to do next. You don't know what kind of film you're going to get out of him either. But the problem is he's not really entertaining like a Nick Cage. And I think the problem becomes, like, he's doing a little bit of everything, and I wonder if it's because, like, he just thinks that that's what's supposed to be cool. Karate's supposed to be cool. The guitar is supposed to be cool, so I'm going to do those things. Like, energy drinks are cool, so I'm going to make an energy drink. Like, at least with Sylvester Stallone and someone like an Arnold, they kind of are in their lanes, right? Stallone can do his, you know, cars and his action films. Arnold can do those action films, but also, you know, coming from a bodybuilding type world. So I guess Seagal was like, well, if those guys are going to do that, boxing and bodybuilding, I'm going to do martial arts, and just kind of leans into that. Now, I will say, well, musically, it's interesting. Have you ever listened to his music before?
Only very briefly, not to any great extent.
So I decided to listen to some of his music. And by some of his music, I mean both albums. And it's fascinating because the man is from Lansing, Michigan, right? Born in the 50s in Michigan. But he wants you to believe that he's from the Delta. And I think he wants to believe that he's somehow from Louisiana or the Delta. Because the way he sings sometimes, it feels like he's acting. Everything he does, I think, comes from, and I don't mean any disrespect to the guy, because I don't know him, but I feel like a lot of it comes from this just really intensely insecure place of, like, I just want you to like me. Like, karate is supposed to be cool, so I'm going to do martial arts, and I'm going to get, you know, somehow inducted into the Martial Arts History Museum Hall of Fame, right? He is in the Hall of Fame for martial arts. Oh, guitars and rock is cool, so I'm going to put out rock music. And if it's actually him playing on the albums, it's not bad. Like, there's some really clean blues riffs in there. Singing, on the other hand, and lyrically, not great. Especially when he uses words like punani. Like, that's really weird to hear Steven say. Like,
in Louisiana accent as well.
in just the weirdest patois that he's trying, and it's horrendous, dude. horrendous. But then the decisions to like buddy up with Putin, like that's a really bizarre one. And maybe and again, this is not a disrespect thing, maybe it's a money thing. And he's like, hey, I can keep some money over here in some banks, or he needs some projects bankrolled or something. But I think he just wants to be an inspirational figure, not just like a cool guy, but like, oh man, Steven inspired me to like constantly put dye in my hair so it's pitch black even though it doesn't look great, or like, oh man, he inspired me to like play guitar and stuff. But it just doesn't work because none of it feels genuine, and I think that's what hurts. I think his early film career in those 80s and 90s films, especially around like Under Siege and things like that, it feels genuine, as weird as it is to want to make a cake in a microwave. His character and who he is feels genuine. But then I think he lost the thread, and it kind of became its own thing. And he just kind of started following whatever he thought people would like and would be cool. He did a concert with Michael Jackson in 1999 in Seoul, Korea. Did you know he did that? That's how into his music I got.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, dude, that's how much of his music I listened to. I was looking at tour dates and set lists and trying to understand it, and it's just truly something else, man. Like I don't get it, and maybe hopefully he'll figure something out. But to me, it's like he's just. I think he's just kind of lost. He kind of got lost in his own thing, and it's swallowed him whole. And I don't think we'll ever truly meet Steven Seagal, the guy from Lansing, Michigan. I think it'll just be whatever he thinks we want him to be. And I just want him to be just a guy, just hang out, man. We don't need you to have Serbian citizenship. We don't need you to be a special envoy to Russia. These are all real things. Well, yeah. I'm not just making that up. Like he's got Russian and Serbian citizenship for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I have been on a journey with Seagal. There was the kind of time in my life where I enjoyed his films, and he seemed to be making like really good films. And then it all started to get a little bit strange. The whole business with incorporating Buddhism so overtly into his films, the kind of all the eco warrior stuff. And then there was a kind of period where I was ironically amused by Steven Seagal, and then reached the point where I'm at now, which is the man is just a complete dick, and he has repellent views, the conspiracy type stuff that he comes out with, and then on top of that, there's the quality of the movies that he's made, where it's just become increasingly apparent that he cannot be arsed, and that he just has complete contempt for anyone who watches his films. The fact that he can't even be bothered to do his own ADR, he can't even be bothered to overdub his own performances, he can't even be bothered to hide the fact that he won't do any kind of reverse shots or overt use of stunt doubles, the fact that he just won't keep himself in any kind of physical shape to sort of make his appearance in these films in any way sort of seem credible. And it just is, as I say, it just is I can only describe it as complete contempt for his audience. And look, people get old, people put on a little weight or whatever, but they adapt and they try and adjust to the scenario. Whereas I say, Seagal, he simply does not give a flying F. And I have, frankly, at this current point in time, just no respect for the man whatsoever. And he's just, he's got a body of work there which he could put up against a whole bunch of like the kind of greats of 80s and 90s, action movies. But I just think he's just sullied the bed so badly that I just can't really give him even credit. I just can't look at those films in isolation and really sort of enjoy them. And he's just frankly just tainted the entirety of his career with what he has done over the last sort of 25 years, really. And with Seagal, it's just like, no, sorry, like, I am kind of done with you. I am done with your entire career, even the bits of it that previously I enjoyed quite a lot.
Yeah, and it's disappointing because, like you said, it kind of does taint the previous films that we enjoy and that we kind of want to revisit and watch. When you go to revisit and watch it, you're like, ah, man. I remember this differently. Maybe because I remember when Steven was like maybe enjoying himself making the films, and that's how it comes through, instead of it being like, I guess I'll just show up and collect this paycheck so I can get back to doing whatever it was I was doing before, which to me, I don't think it's a lot. I think it's maybe showing up at some cons and shaking hands. I don't think he's ever done that, but I feel like that's kind of where he is or should be in his career. And even then, he could very easily like have transitioned into and being a police captain on a TV show. That's the kind of role he should be now. Just this old grizzled police captain on some drama, or just occasional one-off role. But instead, it's just he says and does these things, and it's like, you're only hurting yourself here, man. And I don't think you can really defend it or him. Maybe early on in his career, sure, there might have been some things where you're like, nah, no way that, this movie's better than that movie and what have you. But like you said, it kind of taints it, and it makes you want to revisit it less. And not even in it's so bad it's good, or wow, let's look at how bad this is. Sometimes it's just bad. And it's like, why waste your time, Steven, if this is what you're going to do?
Okay, I think it's time to get stuck into Half Past Dead. So let's see if someone can tell us what the biggest problem is.
In the new Alcatraz, the biggest problem isn't breaking out.
What are you packing?
This.
You want to play rough?
Sorry, I'm not into men. It's dealing with the guys who just broke in.
It's a party, boys.
Why are you doing this?
$200 million worth of U.S. gold brick. What's going on? We got a problem.
Half Past Dead.
That's what I'm talking about.
Rated PG-13. Opens November 15th.
Sasha Petrosevitch is an undercover FBI agent posing as a car thief. After a botched operation leaves him clinically dead for a brief period, he finds himself incarcerated in the newly reopened Alcatraz prison alongside his criminal associate Nick Fraser. The prison is run by a colourful warden nicknamed El Fuego. This prison is infamous for its state-of-the-art execution chamber, where condemned prisoners can choose from 5 different methods of execution. The next inmate scheduled for death is Lester McKenna, who stole $200 million in gold that has never been recovered. With the death sentence about to take place, a group of heavily armed terrorists, calling themselves the 49ers, parachute onto the island with the aim of forcing Lester to reveal the location of his hidden gold. After the 49ers seize control of Alcatraz, Sasha is forced to reveal his true identity as an FBI agent, and with the help of Nick and other inmates, prevent the criminals from escaping with the gold. In the cast, we have Steven Seagal, Morris Chestnut, Nia Peeples, Ja Rule, Tony Plana, Linda Thorson, Michael McGrady, Stephen J. Cannell, yes, that's Stephen J. Cannell, and everyone's least favourite sycophantic entertainment journalist, Ross King. The film was directed by Don Michael Paul, whose career consists of making an astonishing number of straight-to-video sequels. This film was critically savaged on its release, and it grossed just $19 million worldwide. On IMDb, the film has a user rating of 4.6 out of 10, and on Letterboxd, it has a user rating of 2.2 out of 5. So, with all of that out of the way, Nick, what did you make of Half Past Dead?
It's not the best, but it's also not like completely terrible and the worst. I think the biggest thing that hurts this film is that here in the States it's rated PG-13 and it wasn't rated R. And I think because of that, it feels like a really bad TV movie at times, because we don't see that follow through on the action sequences. Instead, we see a lot of stuff that's ridiculously over the top, I guess, to kind of hide the fact that they can't show you the blood and guts of things, and that they can't go to the extremes that previous Seagal films and just action films in general like have gone. So I think that hurts it. And I think there's also a lack of faith in their stars. This film has Ja Rule. He's a hip-hop artist, but anytime there's a hip-hop song, it's like a DMX song or it's somebody else. It's like, why wouldn't Ja Rule also contribute to the score? I feel like Morris Chestnut's a pretty solid actor, but in here, he's just not even chewing the scenery. Like, he's kind of like palming it and like fake eating it almost. Like, no one really feels committed to what's going on, and everything just kind of falls flat. But when everything else around it is so over the top, it just becomes this like mixed. It's just mixed all around, and it doesn't stick one way or the other, and it ends up all of it falling flat no matter how hard it pushes to be dramatic or even work within the confines of that PG-13 rating.
Yeah, you make a good point about the PG-13 rating. I think that does create a whole bunch of problems within the film, because there are whole moments in the dialogue where somebody is saying something and where this is sort of building up to them delivering some sort of F-bomb, but then that line has to be aborted because they can't. They've got restrictions to how many swear words they can actually contain in the movie, and yeah, definitely the action is denuded by the fact that they are working within that remit. I mean, I've never seen I probably have seen at some point, but this is one of those films where there are just must be about like 10 million rounds of ammunition is spent in this film, but
so many,
but only about 3 people actually get shot, and there are people blazing away with machine guns seemingly at point blank range, and no one is getting hit because we got a PG-13 rating to observe here, and so we can't afford for anyone to get shot here. But look, it's not the worst film ever made. I mean, it is objectively bad, but equally, it's not an unwatchable film. I mean, I was never bored watching this film because there was always something happening in it. Now, what was happening might not always have been good. Some of it, sometimes it might have been you're watching a comedically inept gunfight. It might be that you're watching some over-the-top acting, but there's always something going on here. You were talking about some of the performances here, and kind of saying, Morris Chestnut. There is one actor in this film that I kind of think is chewing scenery like there is no tomorrow, and I think that is Tony Plana, who seems to be auditioning for like a remake of Carlito's Way in this film.
Yes. 100%, because it's like the only time he wants to be menacing and get a point across, that's when he'll say something like in Spanish or just like really lean into it. Oh, that's such a great point.
But yeah, I kind of agree with you. It's a very such a middling. It's such a 5 out of 10 movie for me. It's just nowhere near good, but equally, it's not unwatchable. You can kind of sit down and watch it, and it passes the time quite serviceably because there's stuff going on. It may not make a lot of sense. As I say, some of it may just be comedically bad, but it's very busy with what it does, and that kind of papers over some of the flaws within this film. I mean, as I alluded to, as I said at the top of this film, this was Seagal's last theatrically released film before he shifted almost entirely to direct-to-video work for years. How do you feel that this film sort of reflects that transitional moment in his career? I mean, basically in terms of his performance, perhaps in terms of his physicality, or the way the movie tries maybe to modernize him?
I think you're right on the money. With this film being that transitional film. Like, I think this is the film for it. And I think you said it exactly. It's a busy film, right? It's nothing over the top. There's no big set pieces. Everything feels busy. And a lot of the camera work there's a lot of close-ups.
Oh, yeah.
There's moments when the characters are talking, and they're talking about Morris Chestnut's background, and the camera is locked onto this female agent. Like, they are not leaving her at all, and it's very close and very tight, and it's trying to feel dramatic, and it's just not. The shootout sequences, particularly towards the end of the film, right, where they're just shooting rounds aimlessly left and right, making stormtroopers look like, crack shot snipers. The cameras are so close. And they're so focused on who's in front of it. There's no angle. You can't tell how big a scene is. Even in the very beginning, when they're in kind of that yards selling the stolen car and everything feels so close. But then when it goes over the top, it really goes over the top. Ja Rule, I mean, Steven Seagal hits the brakes too hard in a car, and Ja Rule flew out of the car. Later, he gets in a fight with a prison guard. The prison guard just roundhouses him, and he goes flying into a shelf. The
this
number
is
of
this
people-
is this is a thing in this film. The physics in this film, like what is going on with the physics? Because,
Death-defying.
like as you say, those are two great examples that you just cited there. And there's another really random moment of like abandoning the laws of physics, where Steven Seagal and Morris Chestnut are sort of engaging a bit of a gunfight, and Chestnut is to sort of it's trying to get away on foot, and he leaps down a stairwell. And it's just like, is this a superhero movie? Because this stairwell is like, it's like a 40-foot drop or something, and he just leaps over and presumably, well, we know he lands safely because he sort of turns up in a later scene, and I was just like, well, how did he do that? He wasn't meant to have superhero powers, and it's just like, yeah, the sort of the laws of physics in this film, sometimes they apply, and then sometimes, you know what, we're gonna abandon them because we've got an idea that we want to use here.
Yeah, I'll do you two more instances better. When the prisoners first break into the armory, where there's a scene where we're watching two prisoners on a catwalk, and they both, in sync, choreographed perfectly, leap over the sides of the balcony as if a big musical number's about to start, right? And then later, when they're about to put their guns down and they decide to draw guns anyway and fire, two prisoners jump off of a second floor, shooting guns, crisscross each other in like this, again, weird choreographed in sync, here comes a big musical number type bit. It's so over the top. The number of characters that go flying through panes of glass, either on their own or because of a propulsion from a rocket launcher or being kicked through it, is absurd. I feel like I feel like this film is secretly a musical and they just cut the musical bits out because of how over the top some of it is, but it's the moments that are over the top aren't the ones that we want to focus on. Those are the ones that need to be a little bit tighter and close up so we can feel that intensity and we can feel that action. And I think part of that hinders it, again, along with the PG-13 rating, but it gives us that like mixed bowl. And some of the dialogue that's delivered is just awful. But then there's a couple lines that aren't so bad. Again, you got Steven Seagal, and he's like, yeah, I did a nickel in Angola. It's like, we get it. You want to be from the South, man. Totally. But then you have an agent landing in a helicopter, walking off, and she has a coffee in her hand as if it's a scene from like SVU where a character's getting out of a cab with a coffee. Some of it, it's that silliness that gives it that direct-to-DVD or direct-to-streaming nowadays type feel, instead of that big blockbuster or big action film that deserves to be on the big screen. This feels kind of like an extended TV movie or like the finale of a TV. Just, it doesn't have that big film feel, and I think that adds to this being that moment of like, oh yeah, like this isn't on the big screen, it's on the small screen. Like even watching it on a computer, like it doesn't, at no point that I'm like, man, I should really be watching this on a television or a big screen, or oh man, I wish I'd have saw this in theaters. Like, you don't get that feeling. Not all action films need to give you that feeling, but you know what I mean, Half Past Dead, like that should be way cooler than what it ends up being.
Well, you mentioned that this film felt like a mix of different stuff, and I think that is a really astute observation, because there are just so many like stylistic influences going on here, because you've got it feels like the Matrix is a influence on some of the stuff here. You've got all that John Woo gun fu stuff where bizarrely you have that like FBI agents at the beginning doing like shooting dual pistols. Like,
yes, everyone's shooting dual pistols. Even Steven Seagal, but he's got to be fancy. His hands are crossed when he's doing it, because that makes sense. But like everybody's got to be dual pistoling. I don't. What happened? What happened?
And there's loads of wire work in this film, because that was big at the time. And then we've got the soundtrack, which is like dominated by like rap, I mean, which is perhaps not unsurprising, as you've got Ja Rule as a co-star here. You've also got like Corrupt in the cast here. But then there's a whole bunch of new metal on the soundtrack as well, which obviously was big at the time when this film came out. So it just feels like anything that was popular, like either right then or recently, is just kind of thrown into a blender here and just like mixed together in largely completely incoherent ways. And yeah, Half Past Dead is the film that we get out the other side of that.
And the more embarrassing thing is when I first started watching the film, hearing DMX come on, but the swears were censored. I'm like, is there something wrong with my TV? Did I pick the wrong thing? Like, what's happening? In any time of hip hop, like, the swears are censored out. They don't even like try to hide it. They're just like, it is what it is, and they go with it. And it's disappointing. It's just really disappointing. It takes away from that moment, and it makes it silly. Even the opening credits felt like a weird TV show that just kept lingering because characters are talking, but you still have like title cards floating over their faces. And again, I thought, is something wrong with my streaming source here? Did I pick a wrong film? Like, this can't be the right thing, and it was.
Well, this film casts Ja Rule as sort of Steven Seagal's like buddy in this movie, and it kind of squarely puts this film in that era of action movies where you're kind of pairing, veteran action stars with popular rappers, presumably in order to chase younger audiences. I mean, how did the dynamic work here for you? Did it feel organic, or did it feel to you like cynical marketing calculation?
It felt extremely forced. I mean, it's no exit wounds. You know what I mean? Like, at least with exit wounds, like, there's that it works, and you can find that chemistry there. But here it just feels like they're forced together, as if like they have to do this and have to get through it. And it's not even one of those, like, not that this would be the case, but even when you have like the old grizzled cop and the new young guy, like, even when you have two people from two different worlds coming together, even if there's like bickering and a back and forth, there's still a playfulness there, or there's still some type of chemistry there. These two guys could not be more opposite, like, at all. Even when they look at each other, it's almost like, man, the second the camera's off of me, I'm not smiling anymore. Like, everything felt so forced and so fake, and it's disappointing because you want to see. I love seeing odd combinations of actors that you don't think would work but end up working and pairing off really, really well. And you hope to see that in a film like this, and when it doesn't happen, it just kind of, it adds, and you can feel it in the room too, and just being like, "Ooh, this isn't."
They've got no rapport whatsoever,
exactly,
have they?
Exactly.
Let's talk a little about the plot and structure here, and I wanted to get your take on like how you felt the film balanced or failed to balance exposition, action, and the sort of character beats here, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that this film sets up that it never pays off, or it's ineptly handled. I mean, let's take for the example the idea that Seagal is undercover. What is Steven Seagal undercover to do? I mean, I watched this film twice in preparation for this, and I'm not clear from watching this film twice, has he been undercover the whole time or not? And, when he reveals that he has been undercover with the FBI, it's the crappiest reveal of all time. It's literally of no dramatic consequence to this movie. And there are so many things within this film like that. And yeah, I was just sort of really at a loss with this film. Where did you find yourself with those aspects?
That reveal feels like an after-school special, right? It feels like two friends and the other one saying, "Hey, man, I experimented with beer over the weekend. I'm so disappointed in you, Brandon. How could you do this? I'm sorry, Todd. I know we're friends." Like, that's what that energy felt like. And you're exactly right. It sets up these things and doesn't pay him off whatsoever. He's supposed to be this undercover FBI agent who's trying to get information and take out this other crime guy, I think Sonny. He's trying to get to Sonny because Sonny killed his wife. Okay, that's cool. So he's undercover. And then when that time finally comes, we hear about it through a phone conversation at the end of the film. He goes to Ja Rule's character, Nick, and he says, "Yeah, I got him." Okay, the flashback? You don't want to show us that scene? Like, you're just going to tell us that's what happened? It's so ridiculous. This moment that he's been building up and building up. Yeah, he put 4 bullets in my wife, and he did this and that. Okay, let's see the fight then. Let's see you really go after her. Instead, it's just like, hey, I'm getting you out of jail, and oh yeah, I got the guy I was going after. Like, that's so ridiculous. It should have been, I'm getting you out because we're going after this guy, and here's how we're going to do it. Yes, it would have been that much longer of a film. Yes, it might have felt a little bit clunky, but at least we get to see and we get to feel it. Instead, he, like, the one reveal that we get, which we kind of knew coming, the guy's like, hey man, you should go to this lake. You should take a trip to this lake sometime soon. And it's like, okay, so we know what that's going to be. It's going to be his little Zawatnehu moment. You know what I mean? From Shawshank. We get it. You're going to find the gold there, Curly. But it's just so disappointing because, like the rest of this film, it doesn't focus on the things that we want. Instead, it's just overblowing and being over the top with the stuff that we kind of don't care about. I don't think any of us care that there's gold underneath of the prison. No, we're here for the action, so let's focus on the action. We're here for that, but instead they just kind of like look for everything else, and it becomes disappointing. And again, because of that lack of chemistry, you know, at the end when he's like, hey, are we all right? And he's like, nah, we all right. It's like, okay, are we all supposed to jump up for joy at the end of that? Like, they're buddies. Like,
well, their whole relationship, you can see what they were thinking, but they don't put the pieces together because, you know,
at all.
Seagal saves, you know, Ja Rule's life at the beginning of the film, which you kind of think, okay, that's going to play into the fact that then Seagal is going to reveal later that he's an FBI agent, and so that's kind of going to compensate for, you know, the fact he saved his life will compensate for that betrayal later. But as I say, that moment is, or that idea is completely like bungled, abandoned, not thought through. I mean, there's another reveal in this film, which again, like, it should be, you know, you sort of think, okay, that will be a cool moment, a cool switch with the whole idea that Morris Chestnut actually is somebody within, you know, the penal system, and actually it turns out he's behind this sort of group of terrorists, and you know, but that is just thrown away, given no weight or significance. You sort of think, well, that's a sort of a moment you think the film would be building towards, to like, oh wow, I thought he was one thing but now he's this. But it's like, no, the film, it just sort of like, yeah, you know that guy you saw earlier, he's one of the terrorists now. No real explanation, no weight to it whatsoever.
No. And again, it's just like, here's this thing, and like, okay, should we be excited for that? Like, the reveals, it doesn't hit, and I don't know if it's a lack of like score behind it kind of pushing it, or just the lack of visual, or the lack of commitment to the character. I don't know what it is, but none of it just feels like they won it. None of it feels like it's owned or even earned. It's just like, here's a thing, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be looking at the exploding helicopter action.
We have a situation in Africa.
There's been another attack.
You've got bad boys. Worms sure as hell ain't Mickey Mouse.
From Universal Pictures comes the next chapter in the Tremors saga.
The bitch is back. Load every gun.
Come to Africa. We'll have some laughs, see some game.
Tremors 5 Bloodlines. Own it on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital HD.
I think you'll find this useful.
Where'd you get this?
You don't want to know.
I like your style.
We're back, and now we're looking at the exploding helicopter action. This occurs at the end of the film. After forcing the FBI to provide them with a helicopter, the villains fly away from the prison with Lester and Judge McPherson as hostages. Fortunately, Seagal quickly appears on the scene on board another chopper. McPherson is thrown out of the copter, but Seagal skydives after her and is able to save her as he's got a parachute with him. Meanwhile, Lester rips open his shirt to reveal he's wired with explosive, and he promptly blows himself up along with the villains and the helicopter. Nick, what did you make of the exploding helicopter action?
This whole scene is bizarre. The entirety of the scene is bizarre. She's thrown out of the helicopter, and we get this aggressive DMX growling song coming through. And again, it's censored, so all the F-bombs are gone, and it just doesn't hit as hard, right? He jumps out after her. Meanwhile, we cut back to this guy, rips his shirt off. He cannot keep his tongue in his mouth. He is so horned up from ripping off of his shirt to show that he's got a bomb strapped to his chest. And then we just freeze frame in slow-mo kinda on Morris Chestnut's face. And then the helicopter explodes, and it becomes, I think, the most beautiful helicopter explosion that we've seen in quite some time. Ooh. Like, this is what I'm here for. It's 2 shots. We see the helicopter exploding, big and beautiful, and we just sit there. We don't cut away too quick. We watch the whole thing, and then we cut to another shot where there's just fiery debris headed towards the camera, and it is glorious. It is so great to watch instead of just like something that's loosely cut or away, or they went and showed you some other kind of footage instead. Like, it's an explosion. It's beautiful. It's what we're here for, and it's easily the highlight of the film is this exploding helicopter.
Oh, well, Nick, I'm glad you enjoyed it so much, but I hate to be potentially the bearer of bad news here for your enjoyment of this particular scene, because I believe that that second shot of the wreckage hurtling towards the camera is basically taken from the film Charlie's Angels, which came out a couple of years before. And
what?
Yeah. And features a great exploding helicopter in that scene. And there is, if you go and you can find the clip on YouTube, you'll see that shot that you enjoyed so much. It's pretty much, it is, I'm pretty certain, I'm like 97% certain it's the same shot.
That is
devastating news for you.
That is very disappointing to me. Like, I'm at a loss for words, because we even get, and correct me if I'm wrong, at least I think it's for me, is this a first where it's like a suicide bomber is taking them out, like someone on the helicopter with a bomb like that? I personally, I mean, you've obviously seen many more than I have, but I haven't seen that many instances, if any, of somebody being like, I'm the reason, and then taking the whole thing out.
I was racking my brains, Nick, in the preparation to this, for like, has there been a suicide bomber thing? And I can't. I couldn't recall whether there's been another suicide bomber exploding helicopter. I need to do some more work. But Nick, again, I hate to disappoint you, but did you know that they did a sequel to this film?
What do they call it? Full Dead, Quarter of Dead, Dead 30, 10 of Dead.
Well, in 2007, they used all of their creative powers to release the film Half Past Dead 2. Do you know who they got to be the star of that film in order to provide some sort of continuity between this film and the sequel?
Maybe a WWE wrestler?
Well, very good. But they had Bill Goldberg in that film, but there's one character that is in Half Past Dead that they bring, that comes back in Half Past Dead 2 to kind of co-star alongside Bill Goldberg. Who do you think it is?
No, it's not. No, it's not. Is it Stephen J. Cannell? Is it him?
You know what? That would have been very exciting. No, they actually bring back Corrupt's character Twitch to be the co-star alongside Bill Goldberg. And in that film, they have a kind of like flashback or sort of reprise of what happened in Half Past Dead, and they repeat the exploding helicopter that we get in Half Past Dead in that particular film. So that footage that was originally in Charlie's Angels was then in Half Past Dead, then gets reused again in Half Past Dead 2.
That is
sad.
You build me up, Will, just to bring me back down.
as I'm here and I've got a few exploding helicopter facts at hand. I mean, this is one of 7 films that Steven Seagal stars in with an exploding helicopter, and the fact that he's in 7 films with an exploding helicopter puts him equal 9th on our list of actors who are in the most films with exploding helicopters, and he's level with Chuck Norris and Don Wilson, Don the Dragon Wilson, I should say, with in that kind of equal 9th position. He's also equal 9th with Art Camacho, the stuntman slash actor director who also appears in this particular scene. He's the pilot of the helicopter that gets blown up here in this particular film, and Art Camacho is also the director of Half Past Dead 2. So all manner of strange synchronicities and synergies there with this particular film. Right, okay, I think it's time to wrap things up. Nick, thanks for joining me once again. Before you head off to ride the flat line, is there anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, absolutely. Head over to rabbitholepodcasts.com. You can check out 2 shows that I am on, Lyrical Innuendo with Bubba Wheat and Play MST for Me with Jason Soto.
As always, don't forget to check out the Exploding Helicopter website at explodinghelicopter.com for more reviews and information about helicopter explosions in films. Seriously, if you could help spread the word about what we do by rating, reviewing, or retweeting us, I'd be really grateful. We'll be back soon, but until then, what should people do, Nick?
Keep watching the skies for those exploding helicopters. This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
How long we known each other?
About 2 years, 2.5 years.
So for about 2.5 years, let's say, I've been asking you to call me Nick.
I like Nicholas, all right?
No, it's not all right. It's all right. Put a little thug in it. Maybe you get your money.
I love Nicholas, all right? Was that good?
Nah. Check it out. Read my lips. All right.
All right. How was that?
You see the way I'm doing that right there?
Yeah,
all right. You see where I'm getting that in there?
I think that's tough for me.
You whiter than I thought, man.